Welcome to How to Film Weddings. I am Nick, and today I am continuing my video series of how to edit wedding videos. This is part 4. So if you missed the first 3, there will be links in this description below. Today, what I'm going to be focusing on is adding B-roll to our video and finishing out. This is Mason and Grace's wedding video, and so far we have got all our footage culled. We have made our music the correct length. We have added all of our voiceover stuff that we're going to put in it, and now we are going to start adding stuff over it. Okay, adding the footage of the couple, of the reception, of the ceremony, all of that stuff, so that we can have our finished edits. So hopefully by the time that you're done watching this, we will have this done. So let's hop over into Premiere and get started. So as you can see, we have their entire timeline here laid out. The pink purple stuff is actually the letter or interviews that Grace did, and the light blue stuff is the stuff that Mason did. And the yellow stuff is speeches from the reception. This little green one right here is from the ceremony. So I'm gonna just go in and start adding stuff. Because we live in such an instant gratification world, one of the things that I really like to do is show off some of the best footage, some of the great footage at the very, very beginning. And usually that has to do with the couple being romantic, being sweet, being cute, whatever it may be. I like to open with that so that as the viewer, when they're watching it, they can be instantly pulled in and they can instantly see these people who this whole wedding story is about. So I have my all footage tab, everything up here, and I like to lift it up. So here we go, and this is what I kind of edit with on my screen. Now I am editing on a 27-inch iMac monitor, so that helps me to be able to fill all of this stuff in. But this way I can come in here to the all footage timeline, add stuff up, and just drop it in. This teal color right here is the couple. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find a couple of shots, maybe some walking stuff, whatever that I really want to open this video with. I actually really like this shot. So just going to drop it down here. For whatever reason, I never interpret my footage. I always add slow motion now. It's just the workflow that I have done. I don't think that there's a right way or a wrong way to do that. That's just what I have always done.
I love you so much. You're true. I think it's like you.
Usually fade up from black. It's just a nice transition. One of the nice things I like about putting these black crop bars on it is you can kind of move the footage a little bit. So if you don't like the placing of it, you can, redo it and not lose any resolution here. So I add warp stabilizer to a lot of clips just to make sure they're as smooth as possible. Thing is whenever you make it slow motion, you have to actually nest it first, and then I always change the color so that it's the right color, and then I go into my effects. And I add warp stabilizer. This is a moment where I used to always, when I would add warp stabilizer and sometime it would take a minute, I would hop on the internet, just look around, and I'd get sucked into Facebook for 10 or 15 minutes. Make sure you come up here and you turn off your Wi-Fi. Just turn it off so you can get a solid, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour of just solid editing time, and you're not distracted with emails or Facebook or anything like that. I found this to be very helpful for me. I also always make a new folder that's called Nest. so that I can dump all of my nested sequences in there, and it just keeps my timeline over here to the left very clean. I don't like having a crowded mess of a timeline or project folder or anything like that. Okay, this is actually the house that the bride grew up in, and she made several comments about how important it was to her to have this. So it's nice. So I'm going this opening shot of them, and then she's going right into her letter. So I'm going to go from them as a couple, and then I am going to show a picture of the house because that's where she's getting ready. It kind of is establishing shot, and it kind of lets people know where they are. So I go from there to the house.
Grace, thank
And then I have a shot of her actually reading her letter.
Thank you so much for doing this walk with me. I love
So here we go. So we go from the couple, great, and then we switch back to her house, and
Grace,
then
thank you so much for
the
doing
letter.
this walk with me. I love you so, so much. You are truly a blessing to me, and I am so lucky to have you in my life.
Okay, so that's where I started, and keep on just going from there. I'm gonna add in this.
Grace, thank you so much for doing this walk with me. I love you so, so much. You are truly a blessing to me, and I am so lucky to have you in my life.
One thing that adds a lot of depth to your film is by actually including some sort of ambient audio. That's not, you can turn it down, way down, so you can kind of barely hear it, but it's there, and it just adds another dimension, another level to your wedding videos. It's going to just make it seem even more real. So, I know this is kind of to me, it's kind of a strange thing to include in a wedding video, but it was a part of their day, and they thought it was, just fun guy time. So, I think it really adds a lot, especially putting all those, gunshots and stuff into the video, as opposed to just having, nothing. Listen to this.
Mason.
Now, come back and listen to it like this.
Mason.
Okay, it just adds another layer, and I think it makes the finished product that much more interesting whenever you include some audio like that. So we have just gone kind of where my brain is going and what I'm thinking while I edit this. So I've just opened it with them. I have this shot of her house to kind of show where she is.
Grace, thank you so much.
Then I have some of this gun stuff.
Mason.
Show him reading his letter.
As I think about spending the rest of my life with you.
And now I'm going into some toast stuff with his brother. So one thing that I like to do, just to kind of give people an idea of where we are, is I will actually come in here, and I know it's super early in the video, but I'm going to take a shot like this of the reception and actually just drop it right here.
After his first semester.
Another thing that I think is so crucial whenever editing stuff like this is being able to, being able to hear, but also see who is speaking. I think a lot of times when it comes to voiceover stuff, we tend to let the voiceover stuff go for a really long time, and I think we're smart enough as we're watching it, because we're watching a wedding video, to know, okay, there's only a handful of people who this is going to be. Maybe the officiant, probably the bride or the groom, maybe, you know, a best man, or, you know, something like that. So I always love to actually show whoever's speaking as soon as I can. So I'm coming over here, and okay, here is my wide reception shot, so people know where we are.
First semester, first year at Creighton.
Then I go there to show who's speaking, and I might pull this back just a little bit.
First year at Creighton, I just saw a whole new different Mason.
And there we go. So quick little thing there. So you establish your shot, you show where you're shooting, you show who's speaking, and then maybe someone that they're speaking to. So coming back here, so to fill this in.
Morning, as I think about spending the rest of my life with you.
I think one thing that I want to do, this just kind of starts, so I want to see if I can maybe show some sort of establishing, you know, something a little bit wider of the guys and their guns, and show them all hanging out. Okay, here's one. Now I know that they're not No, it's not necessarily Mason, but
Mason, my heart is so full this morning as I think about spending the rest of my life with you. After his...
Okay. His brother here starts off, and he's basically saying how Grace and Mason have kind of changed each other. That seems to be the kind of the theme that I have, especially with the toasts that are giving, and then what Mason and Grace say to each other. So that's kind of this thread of theirs is relying on God, trusting in God, and then how they have just brought out something new, something different within each other. I really like I said, I like time shift, I like moving around, so I think I'm going to add in a few clips of them from their couple time together. So what I'm doing here is I didn't really necessarily like the groom's reaction whenever his brother was talking. And so since there's no one talking on this screen, you can actually kind of move stuff around and maybe find a reaction that you like.
And I just saw a whole new different Mason, and one day he asked me, like, how are you?
Okay, and so I like what he was saying right here, and you know, this idea of how much Mason has changed since he met Grace. And so I'm coming back to his brother speaking to kind of re-emphasize or emphasize this point.
Doing on the day. And that just really caught me off guard because Mason like never did that. So I was thinking about that.
Now he's going to go back and talk about Grace and how he asked her a couple questions about this. And so I think it's good for me to, now I can revisit. But the nice thing about setting up your edit the way that I have it set it up is I haven't spent a whole lot of time. You know, I'm at probably editing for about 30 or 45 minutes or so, and I'm already a minute in to my video. And I have a lot of stuff laid out, and it just, to me, it helps the entire process go a lot faster once I actually get in here and start doing it. I found that this really works really great.
And that you and Mason met, and
okay, here's something that I did that I'm not entirely sure that I like.
I said Grace, I said...
Here she is framed up on the right side, which I think this is a nice looking shot. Not too crazy about this stuff over here. I don't know if there's anything I can do to really cover it up.
It was the first time that you and Mason
met. I really
met,
like this shot too, Grace, but she kind of shifts. I'm not sure if I want to cover that up with something. Like do something like this. There you go.
When was the
This
first
side,
time that you and Mason met?
dress.
And Grace replies,
Back to there.
the first semester that he got here.
Very good. I think that's a great representation. Or whenever it comes to editing, try to avoid jump cuts. Basically, a jump cut is getting from point A to point B, and you don't show how it happens in the middle. So if to avoid that, put something in the middle of it. So for instance, I'm sure that I'll get to some, but if the couple is talking and they're walking a certain way, they're walking and talking, and then the next shot they're standing still, maybe I put something in between. Maybe it's nature, maybe it's something that kind of, as you're watching it, it makes you go, oh, that's how they got from walking to standing still. So here's an example of a jump cut. If I went straight from her right here, it goes dress,
And Grace replies,
her smiling,
the first semester
and then
that he
now
got
her
here.
makeup's getting done.
And-
Okay, that's a jump cut, and you're like, how did that happen? So a good way to avoid something like that would be to, so there we go. So now I go from here, and then while I am showing this sign, oh, now they're getting ready for makeup and all of that, and then I put on makeup, and it totally makes sense. So I've started putting this in about Mason getting ready, but I don't like it right here. What his brother is talking about in the toast is who Grace is and how she, what a great person that she is, and how she has basically brought this stuff out in Mason that his brother hadn't seen before. And so it doesn't make sense as he's talking about her to show this stuff of him. So I'm gonna probably move that over here for right now. Come back to Grace. About a minute and a half in of this 5-minute edit, and I have Bride getting ready. I have a couple of stuff. I have the guys hanging out beforehand, shooting their guns and all of that. Now Mason's getting ready to kind of talk. Read through the letter of what Grace kind of sees in him and what she thinks of him. So I'm probably this is where I'm gonna cut to some shots of him getting ready, even though it's him narrating what she's reading, but I think that fits. So let me watch this that I just
person.
by.
I just think that's just an accurate picture of what Grace is and that kind of person.
This is something that I'm not a big fan of. I didn't get any establishing shots where he was getting ready at all. So I'm kind of using the fact that as he reads his letter, it's Grace's words kind of talking about him. And that's kind of what I'm using is kind of the establishing of what's going on here.
On Mason.
I remember praying for my future husband as a little girl, as a teenager, and as a woman. After our first date, it became
Okay, now we're getting ready to go back into a toast, and so I'm going to go back into some wide reception detail stuff. Speaking of, if you have an opportunity to get to your reception site a little bit early, before any guests arrive, if you can do that, I highly recommend doing that. You can get some really beautiful shots. This was actually, for literally 4 minutes, I held people at the door so that I could walk around with my gimbal and my wide 14 lens on, just so I could get a bunch of detail shots of this beautiful venue before people came in there. So now, as this bridesmaid, this is one of Grace's sisters. While she's talking about her, I think this is a good time for me maybe to go in and show some of Grace getting ready. Okay, now whenever she comes back in and she says this thing about sharing her sister, I think that it is a great moment for me to cut to a clip of Mason and Grace together. So
it's hard to share my sister, but if I'm gonna
and then right here, I'm gonna cut to some shots of them together. I like what she's saying, and I want to cut to some stuff where some of the stuff that she's describing is actually happening. Here what I did is I found some shots that depict what her sister and her toast is talking about. So this first part is her eyes.
Her eyes sparkled a little.
Her eyes sparkle a little more. So
Little
there's
more.
her eyes.
Her smile grew a little wider,
So then there's a shot of her smiling.
and her laugh grew a little louder.
And then there's a shot of her laughing. So again, for stuff like this, it doesn't need to be super loud. Whenever we do interviews, I'm not crazy about this framing for the interview. I would have liked hers to be more like this, kind of looking on straight on camera, but you know, I didn't communicate that with my wife, who's my second shooter. I didn't tell her what I was thinking, what I wanted, so that's okay. I'm just gonna make do. But this is what I would have liked to have had her look be more, you know, in frame, straight on. Anyway, that's how I like to do interviews.
Going through my mind right now. I'm excited.
Sometimes whenever you have two clips, audio backed up, if you kind of do this constant power transition, it'll smooth it out.
And I'm so
So they're getting ready to do their first look that's coming up here. So I want to take some of this shot where he's standing there, kind of waiting, is kind of to build up to that just a little bit. So hold that up. So she's talking about this. I kind of want to start building up to the first look and building up that anticipation that we're gonna see. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this. I'm just adding in some detail stuff here as she's talking about him.
in my mind right now. I'm excited. I'm super emotional. I'm a little nervous, and I'm so excited to see Mason. I'm definitely nervous about that.
I like including this natural kind of audio sound. This is the mic that he had on him, but it's kind of a natural, kind of raw sound. So I'm gonna have that. I turn the volume down to -10. Probably gonna turn it down a little bit more. And there we go. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that. So kind of like that. I go from some of these
Super
shots.
emotional. I'm a little nervous, and I'm so excited to see Mason. I'm definitely nervous about that.
So if you are using a gimbal, something like the Crane 2, which I used on this day, the one axis that I didn't tilt was whenever you put the camera like this and then turn it up to make sure it stays and locks where you go. I didn't stabilize that axis, and because of that, you can see lots of jittering movements. So it messed up some of my shots. My fault. Still learning that thing, but I have it figured out a lot better now.
Mason.
So here we are into this part of the edit where he is now doing it. I'm doing an interview with him. Sometimes whenever I get a little stuck and I'm not exactly sure where to go, I jump around to another part of the edit. So one thing that I know for sure is this, and I set this up in my last video, is that this is going to be where I cut to the ceremony shot right here with this reaction. He gets emotional and he cries a little bit, it builds with the music, okay. So that's really nice. And so I know that I want that to happen, but let's say I'm just, for editing, you know, this purposes, I don't know where to go from here after I get this done.
I've ever met. She is.
So I want to start maybe doing some ceremony stuff. So I will
A
start.
beautiful smile, and I just, whenever I'm with,
Maybe back here a little bit as he's starting to talk. We'll go. First thing I want to do is, I think for this one I want to drop in a drone shot. And this is the one that I thought was real nice. because let's just say for the purpose of this video, I got stuck. So now I am going in and I am adding stuff later to build up to the ceremony, whenever that's going to happen. So I kind of have this
Loving
first
person,
look. He's starting
I've
to
ever
talk.
She is.
I don't know what to put in right in this, 10 seconds or so. So I'm just going to skip
Brings
ahead.
light into every room she's in. She's
Now I'm going to
funny.
start
She's got
building
a
up
beautiful
for the
smile.
ceremony.
And whenever I'm with her, whenever I'm with
And I think for this instance, I know that that's a long shot on her walking from behind, but I think it makes, whenever we see his face and how he's reacting to her, I think it makes it a little more powerful. So it's kind of slow, and tear. I mean, it's just an amazing reaction. Lucky that we caught that. I mean, we're not lucky. I mean, we did it on purpose. And I really like how this has ended up, where here's a ceremony, kind of the climax of the film, and then we have here, these things in their letter that's almost like their personal vows to each other. Man, I just like how this is coming together. And after here, I'm actually going to edit these back up to 0 so the music can kind of fill in. Let's see how this sounds.
And whenever I'm with her, I can't stop smiling. As we start this life together, I promise today and every day to love you, Uncle.
Okay, I mean, I like how that works. I think that's. So here I am for round 3 of my wedding video edit here. I've probably spent a total of about 2.5 hours putting this together so far, and I'm really happy with how it's come. I have 3 minutes and 43 seconds of my 5-minute edit finished, and I have just gotten to the part in the ceremony where they have just seen each other, and now I am going to kind of put in their kiss and their exit and that sort of stuff, and then go into some reception things and some more couple time and that kind of thing. Again, this edit is interesting since the only dancing footage that I have is literally the main dances. They didn't do anything other than that. That's just how it worked out and what they wanted to do. So I'm going to continue on the edit. Here we go, and hopefully in a few minutes time I will have this thing finished up. So this is where we were. I was just doing a little interview with Mason, and that finished up, and we got back into
She's got a beautiful smile.
going into the ceremony.
And whenever I'm with her, I can't stop smiling. As we start this life together, I promise today and every.
Okay, so now I want to come back. I am doing voiceover stuff here, but I really do want to kind of go through the ceremony. So at least I'm going to do this part, kind of cut in between with them reading their letters and the vows, their promises to each other, and then I want to end with the kiss and that kind of stuff. So here we go. So my thought is show this kiss, then I cut back to her reading her letter, and then I can show them actually leaving the area.
Love you unconditionally.
I love who you are, and I would not change one thing about you. I'm going to do everything I can to make you the happiest person in the world.
And then I'll cut back to the ceremony. And just because of how this one was set up, I wasn't able to use my gimbal on them walking out, which is a little frustrating, but you know, whatever. I got an okay angle here. One thing that I will do whenever I'm done with the initial rough edit is I will go in and I will add some sound effects. So I'll actually go back in here and add some sort of applause. It's going to be very low since she's, you know, reading her letter and that stuff. I don't want to overshadow that, but that's what I'm going to do. There are people cheering, lots of stuff's going on, so it doesn't make sense for it to just, you can see their mouths moving. That's another big thing whenever I edit. If mouths are moving, you need to be able to hear some sort of audio. That was actually right here why I started with this angle here, was because the officiant, when I wanted to start it, was still speaking and I wasn't using his voice. So that's why I used this angle instead of this one. This is kind of where I wanted to start it. So the officiant is still speaking,
I love who you are.
but you can't see it because it's so far away. And then it comes into this one. And then it goes to the other one. Here's a jump cut, but I actually kind of like with how the music is going, I like how this is going to feel.
Marriage. I promise to stand with you through the happiest times and the most difficult times.
Okay, so now we are in the reception area. So I want to add a few, you know, kind of wide reception shots. Get some of those details in there. And like how it begins, I like to open up with, you know, a couple shot. I like to also end with a couple shot. I think that's a good, you know, bookend thesis. If you want to think of it that way, you know, in a thesis paper, you say what you're going to say at the beginning and then you close up what you're going to say. So you start with a couple, you end with a couple, you know, nice bookend. So I'm going to put some of these clips in here.
I promise to forever be faithful to you.
And then I want to drop in some dancing footage. Okay, it looks like I'm getting really, really close to this. So this is one where I think I'm going to add their names at the end and then logo at the end. I kind of just, I don't have a set rule for that. Sometimes I put their name, excuse me. I don't have a set rule for whenever I put their names on it, if it's at the very beginning or at the very end. It kind of totally depends on really how I'm feeling for that wedding. So this one, I'm probably going to put it at the end, and then with my logo at the end. I always end with my logo. I don't put it at the beginning. I don't put it anywhere else, just at the end. Whenever you add names or text or, you know, whatever it may be to your film, I suggest I like everything being the same. So I know this side, this needs to be 65. I know that the distance needs to be at 100, centered right there. So that whenever this comes up and it shows with all my other films, it's all uniform. I'm really all about the uniformity with that. So here this is gonna dissolve. There's their name. And then I'll have that fade out. I'll have this one fade out. And then I will add in our business logo, which is Wild Oak Films. It's our business name. So I'm going to add in that logo real quick. Our logo really looks best on white. So like this. And then whenever I have it fade in so that it doesn't look really weird, I always nest this together. Because whenever you have two different layers and you fade them in together, it can sometimes just look strange. So, there we go. So now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to re-watch this thing and just to see how it goes, how I feel about it. One of the nice things about owning a business with my wife, and she does all of our color grading, is that she will watch it and she will give me critiques and stuff. Say, change these clips, you need to add in more of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to take a few minutes right here before she comes in and does her thing, and watch it. So here we go. Okay, overall, I am happy with this. I feel really great about it. I think it all came together so well. My next step in the process is my wife down here and do the color grading. I'm probably not going to show that step in this how to edit a wedding video because she's not very technical. She's really good with color, really good with the eyes, and she does it all by eyes. So she doesn't use waveforms. She doesn't use any of that stuff, and she just does it. So maybe down the line I can show you how she color grades and how we can make that process happen. But for the sake of these videos, I'm probably not going to get into that very much. After she does that, then I'll go in and I'll add in a few sound effects, some background noises, and just hopefully bring this to life even a little bit more. So I know this was a long video. Thanks so much for sticking with us. So what do you think? This is how I edit. This is what I do for every single film. What do you do? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this information helpful, make sure you give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And until next time, see ya.